Thank you. As a reminder, our meeting is being recorded and will be posted on the county's YouTube channel in the near future. Since the last time we have met as a board, besides regularly scheduled and published meetings, there's only one time I can think that the commissioners were together, and that was when Jeff and I met on Monday about delivering the election machines, so not have any significance. And then we will be needing to meet with our solicitor regarding a potential agreement with Motorola in the near future. Hopefully by the next meeting. As far as correspondence received, did you have anything you wanted to raise?
Nothing other than a few of the PennDOT notifications we've had about their work schedules, which I think that we've been posting that on the Facebook page, so we'll continue to do so.
Okay. The only thing that came across my desk that I wanted to make you aware of that I think is pretty important is several months ago the Domestic Relations Office for the state, the Bureau of Child Support Enforcement did an audit of the county's Domestic Relations Office, and the DRO office did great in terms of their paperwork end, but the fiscal office here at the county failed to adequately document certain expenditures, and initially they came back saying that we would have to pay back the state $161 or so thousand. Thankfully, we got through the efforts of the new fiscal director, Eric Hearn, and the tireless efforts of Judy Kaminsky, the director of domestic relations. We were able to...
Paul Pascuzzi.
Oh, and Paul Pascuzzi, that's right. Yes, absolutely. Thanks. We were able to provide documentation that satisfied them for health insurance costs and such, which dropped it down to some $30-some thousand, which can be paid back over the course of the next few years through a reduction in what the state would give us. So I'm actually very grateful to Robert Patrick, who's the director there at the Bureau of Child Support Enforcement, for allowing us a second chance, probably really more like a fourth chance to get it right. And so I'm very appreciative of their understanding and allowing us to, again, prove the legitimate expenditures under Title 4D. That's it for correspondence that I am aware of. Moving on, there's no cause for public hearing. Public comment. Any general members of the public that want to bring anything to the board at this time? Wow, okay. I did know that Todd Lake, you need to get moving to another meeting, so I know that you wanted to talk about the radio system, so I'll give you that time right now if you don't mind.
Good morning, commissioners and directors. I wanted to just bring to light that we've been dealing with some issues, radio issues countywide, an aging system over a lot of years. It's getting to the point where it's time to really pull this to the forefront. We've had a lot of times, just a few bullet points in the last, couple months. We've had issues with line levels. I've got line levels issues on 2 different dates in April that have caused issues with dispatching, getting fire alarms to set off. At fire departments, we have card failure from our MC5500, which is our radio system at the 911 center, which has been up and running 24/7 since 2007. We've done one computer upgrade in that time frame, but it's coming to the time of its life expectancy. We've had some other issues with Verizon having issues with DSL, putting static onto some of our lines. We've had some alignment card problems. A lot of our existing low band equipment, we have a few radios that were purchased when we first went enhanced 911. They were purchased in the 07 area. Since then, those companies, nobody makes a continuous duty low band radio anymore. Is a very major cause for concern. Some of our other radios out there that we have at our ancillary tower sites were purchased in the 80s to mid-90s. So, I mean, we've got some equipment out there that's 30, 35 years old. A couple companies have even quit making the pocket pagers that the fire departments carry. Those are, you know, Motorola doesn't make them anymore. There's a couple Chinese companies that still do make them, but they're getting harder and harder to come by. You know, some of the spare radios that some of the fire departments are using out there are decommissioned radios from other counties. You know, and then it all goes back to the main thing, goes back to interoperability.
So basically we're using other counties' cast-off old
Correct.
stuff.
Correct.
How long is that sustainable?
Not much longer, because of the stuff that the ones that are just decommissioning it now are moving to P25, and you know, it's aging equipment. That's why they're moving away from it. So using their cast-offs isn't going to quite cut it too much longer. So you know, and then the big thing is interoperability. A lot of our radio system now is mix-matched between frequencies, bands. We need to move to a P25 interoperable system. Almost all the counties surrounding us have either moved. Other counties throughout the state, there are very few that are on a, what ones are still on an analog system use it for all their agencies, so it's the interoperability is there, but us moving to a P25, it's becoming to the forefront, and I guess that's what my thing is imploring the commissioners and to move this up. So we need to really start. We need to get it on the table. We've done a lot of due diligence. I think we have a plan in place that we can move forward. Obviously, it's going to be an expensive cost, but an extremely reduced cost. So we still just have a couple more things to lay out and talk with a couple fire departments and, you know, a few fire departments and things like that. But the interoperability has just been an issue. We just had a 30-plus acre wildfire in Sheffield just last week, and between the Sheffield, the fire department, the mutual aid, state and federal partners, it was a very mishmashed issue of trying to have any type of a interoperability. It caused, you know, fortunately there was no, you know, life-threatening situations, but it still is a major issue.
Could you please explain interoperability? And I just want to clarify that because it sounds like you're saying inoperable.
Interoperability. That means inter meaning
for you. Well, yeah, but I mean, right. Like for our application, what would interoperability look like?
Interoperability is, so if we have a P25 interoperability system, that means if you have, you know, everybody can go to a special channel, a special talk group that they can talk to each other. Because right now, the radio that the police officer in the city of Warren is carrying, and the radio that the firefighter is carrying in the city of Warren, and the radio that the paramedic is carrying from Emergicare, they can't talk to each other. They don't have.
So are they currently talking on different channels?
Correct.
To themselves?
Yes. And
okay.
Actually talking to the 911 center or themselves. They cannot talk to.
If they have to communicate, what do they do currently? I mean, between the units, or
it's through the 911 center.
So they contact you, and
or
then you
walk over and talk to them.
Yeah, or they talk to you, and then you talk to somebody. Then
yes. Yes.
So they're feeding messages back and forth through the 911.
They physically have to walk over and, you know, one of the officers, police officers, walk over and talk to the incident commander for the fire and say, hey, you know, this is going on, or there's something else. You know.
So a new system would give them the opportunity to speak directly to each other,
correct.
Like in an emergency scenario.
Correct. We would have a per se would be an incident that say there's a fire in just a house in Warren. So the Warren police go and they block traffic and are doing that type of stuff, and then the fire department's at the scene. They can't speak to each other. We would put them, when they got on scene, we would put them on an interoperable channel. The police could talk back and forth to each other on their channel, but be able to scan the operations channel, the fire operations channel. If all of a sudden there's, that police officer standing there, he's got the road blocked with his car, and all of a sudden that fire chief is going, hey, I need another fire truck from XYZ fire department, somebody has to go over and tell that officer, hey, you need to move your car, or it has to be relayed through the 911 center. We do that now. That's their job. But the problem is while that fire is going on in Warren, those two dispatchers in Youngsville are still taking a medical call at the Rouse home and a car accident in Spring Creek and, all those things too. So, it's not that it's not going to happen. It can just be a delay where that fire chief or the incident commander at that fire could flip it over and say, hey, officer at, Madison and Mulberry, I need you to move your car. There's another truck coming in or something along that line. So it's actually direct contact between each other. I guess that kind of explains the best.
Can you speak some to the current analog system is unsecure, correct? In that
That's correct.
Anyone can listen to it?
Yes.
And does that pose any kind of a problem or threat, especially for police?
It's going to be very threatening for police. Any drug, dealer can have a scanner in his house and know that they're planning and they're out front and getting ready to break down the door. Now they're using cell phones to talk to each other and things like that. But that's not cognizant of public safety, is using cell phones to talk to each other or something like that.
So are you saying that if they move to this system, like scanners would not be able to pick up the signal, or be encrypted?
It would be for the police. It would be encrypted.
So
That's how the state police have been for whenever the 800s started.
Was this
Closer 10 years ago.
Was this the system, or this what you're discussing? How is that going to be tied in with the state police? Like, are the state police going to be able to utilize it as well?
Yes.
So how directly are they going to be tied in with it?
There would be interoperable talk channels.
Oh, so that the local law enforcement and first responders can communicate directly with the state police
Yes.
through the radio system.
and currently they can't, right?
Currently, they cannot.
And they're passing information through 911.
Yes.
So, part of the assumption...
And even sometimes they're passing information to their dispatch center, who calls the 911 center to tell them. We're one of the few counties that we can listen to some of their stuff. We have a radio in there to listen to it, but it's not a two-way communication.
Director Lee, maybe you could explain the Sheffield incident and how that played with interoperability with the state police.
Yeah, there was an issue a few years ago that there was a state policeman in the town of Sheffield dealing with an individual who decided that he wasn't going with him. So they're in the yard wrestling, and he's trying to scream and yell on his radio that he needs help. And literally 3 doors away, around the corner, was a deputy there serving papers. Went back to his car, checked back in services with the 911 center, and started driving back towards Warren, and sees these other two trooper cars flying towards Sheffield. And that trooper's wrestling with the guy in the front yard. Fortunately, nothing happened, but so the interoperability of that officer to have been able to, say he needed help, and that have been gone over the radio on a scan frequency or something for that deputy, he'd have been there in a matter of seconds, not driving from Warren to Sheffield. So it's, we even have those incidents where there's an issue going on at a home, whether it be drug-related, domestic violence, that the ambulance is needed, but the police need to get there and make it, their assessment, calm the situation down before the EMS goes in. Well, what happens now is that trooper goes to wherever that house is, if it's outside the city, and then they calm the situation down. Okay, now he's got to call on his radio back to their dispatch center and say, okay, hey, it's okay for them to come in. And then they call the 911 center, and then the 911 center radios the ambulance that's been standing by down the street a little ways that they can come in now. As a loss of time, where that we get those talk groups and the interoperability, that trooper could change channel on his radio and say, hey, Sugar Grove ambulance, come in, whoever, you know, just talk to them directly. Hey, it's okay, I've got a, you know, whatever, man, lady here bleeding, you need this, that. Just to, you know, because that even runs into, if that trooper's trying to call down to the barracks and it's 3 o'clock in the morning, there's only one person sitting there. And it's about that time that person's on another call or had to make a restroom break or something. So time can just start adding up really quickly. The interoperability is just immense. And as we move forward to a P25 system, that's what Erie County has moved to, that is what Chautauqua County has moved to, that we just have seamless interoperability with them.
Even
with
between
just
counties.
with a few strokes of a pen of, you know, me saying, yes, it's okay to use our stuff, they're saying okay to use their stuff, and we're talking to each other. Because we do have an enormous amount of that between the fire departments on the northern side going to and from Chautauqua County and all around us.
I have one more question, but Mr. Scully, I think, has been wanting to ask something.
Mr. Lake, what would be the final money value of you changing this to the system you want? Has it ever been evaluated what it will cost the county?
It's in the process right now. I don't want to say today, Joe. But
It sounds like-
what we're looking at is an enormous, what we have partnering with the state and an enormous cost savings. I'm talking probably 25% of what it should have cost. You know,
But it's something that's needed in this county. I know what you're saying when
Right.
you try and talk to the cops. They go through 2 or 3 people before you get to talk to them.
yes.
Fire departments are the same way. You got to look at the safety of the residents.
Right.
We have to try and get some kind of grant or something so we can get the 911 center on one system that the whole county can use. And they can't talk to state police, if I'm not mistaken. They got their own little system.
It's even we're looking at this as being as a P25 interoperable system that we could even partner possibly, you know, or we will partner with the school district too, you know, to protect the students at all of our high schools and elementary schools. Also,
I think it's something that should be seriously considered by the Board of Commissioners. Maybe you can get some money out of Harrisburg, but this system he's talking about could save lives someday, and we'd all feel bad if it took 6 phone calls to get the proper people at the scene.
Right. So would you say that this is the decrepit system that we have, even laying aside all the interoperability and advantages that come along with that, but the fact that the system is kind of dying on us, would you say that that is a very immediate threat and it is the greatest?
yes, we've started it just on, what was the date on that? We ended up on, it was in April. We lost a card in the 5500. You know, I mean, we're 11 years old. It's been sitting there playing. Like I said, we've upgraded PCs to newer style stuff, but I mean, we're even at the point where that's due again. You know, 5 to 6 years, and we've done it once, and we're at 11 years.
So if there was one single thing that the Board of Commissioners could do in order to help the emergency services of this county, it would be replacing the system.
Yes. If we need to move to the you know, an interoperable system. I don't want to say that I've been waiting for this to happen. I'm waiting for a great solution, and I think our partnering with the state and how we look at this whole situation, we are in a extremely good situation where we can move to a system for obviously it's going to be costly, but it's minimal compared to what it would be if we were doing this all on our own.
And I think it's important to note that we've had pitches and there have been different discussions about what the overall costs are going to be. Right now, the goal, at least from my understanding, is that Director Lake and others are evaluating the exact need and then that way we have a better idea of what the literal cost is, because whenever anybody walks into a room to pitch you something, it's immediately this. I mean, even with the reduced value, but there's a lot of technical elements associated with this that have to be kind of ironed out to have a solid idea, you know, like a signable deal, or like a real detailed concept of what it's going to look like when it's finalized.
Right. And it's looking, you know, and getting all those figures to do everything is a little daunting, but making sure that everything is going to happen is extremely important.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff. I've kind of lost sight of the situation just because I've been so in the details, but this is something we've been talking about literally for a couple of years. And it's coming to a head because of the urgency of the current system failing us, as well as the awesome opportunity the state's offering.
Well, and I mean,
and I'm not worried that our system's going to drop tomorrow, but we're at the point where it's time we need to make this decision, because where we can save the money, that could go away.
Because it's important to note the conversation about your collaboration with the state, you know, previously, you know, in the county, you know, related, because this is related to the telephony project, but also like the state police situation with their upgrades of their systems in the region. That's kind of tied into it as well, I would say, you know. Yes. Is that, you know, because Warren County was one of the first, wasn't it, or was it the first?
Yes, the state police, yes. They did their pilot program in Warren County.
Yeah.
And they have gone to it completely. Well, they still have some 800 assets out there just to, you know, there's a little bit of a backup, but those will be going away shortly in the next.
Yeah, and so they upgraded their system to utilize this equipment and this setup, and so
it's being used by the state police, PennDOT, and the Game Commission as we speak.
Yeah, and so it affords the first ability for the county to actually collaborate with the state police in order to do something along these lines.
And as we progress, and if we, you know, if we get completely all on board with this, we will be the first in the state to do this. Erie County is partnering with them and dropping some of the costs of their own system, and there are multiple other counties that I've already had discussions with that want to come on board with this too. So this is finally with. I've had personal conversations. I've been to Harrisburg quite a few times dealing with this. Had personal conversations with Senator Balakovich, who's the senator, is the chairman of the Veteran Affairs and Emergency Preparedness Committee, ex-police officer, and the legislator is very adamant that this system is capable of assisting the counties with moving forward.
Very good. I think we understand the need, and I guess to kind of put you and Commissioner Morrison on notice, I think we're about ready to bring a proposal to you, hopefully in the next month.
And I have a sit-down plan with Commissioner Morrison Tuesday of next week. If you would want to sit down, Commissioner Eggleston, and discuss more one-on-one, please let me know.
Okay.
We want Joe happy.
At least somebody does.
At least somebody wants Joe happy.
Must keep Joe happy.
Josh or Mark, questions?
Yeah. All right.
Thank you
very much.
Thank you.
I'll give Mark my bullet points to share.
All right.
I've got a copy for you.
Any other public comment? Very good. At this time, we'll move on to the consent agenda. I would like to make a few changes. The first is I would move to amend the agenda to add the ECCA payroll agreement to the forefront. We actually did not get that service agreement quote until today, and we didn't know that it was going to happen today. So I'd like to add that if you'd be all right with it. The second would be Resolution 3109 for the Fire Services Chaplain. We talked about it on Monday. I just neglected to get it in and printed on the agenda. And then the third would be an appointment for that position related.
Oh.
Is that all right? That's that.
Okay.
Is that all right with you?
My only thing is that I would suggest that we table the ECCA payroll agreement just because I'd like time to review it. I've never seen it.
Okay, can we put it on the agenda and then table it if you want to table it?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Okay, so I'll take that as a second. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, agenda amended. Minutes, did you get a chance to look over the minutes?
Minutes look good to me.
All right. Fiscal report.
You have the fiscal report in front of you. Bank balances are $984.4. We have cash flow and bank balances continue to be adequate for our operational purposes. I am going to, later this month, try to get some more historical data on the TAN usage.
Yeah, that would be great. I was just going to ask you about that.
So I'll have that here later this month, and I'll provide that to you.
To know like the dates when we normally drew from it, and that would be very helpful.
Other than that, that's all I had on that particular report.
All right. Any questions for the fiscal director? Very good. Would you mind reading the proclamation celebrating the Bicentennial of the United States District Court for, excuse me, I was going to read that one.
Yep.
Can you read the next one?
Sure.
All right. We have two proclamations on the agenda. The first is related to the U.S. District Court of Western Pennsylvania. Whereas the Judiciary Act of 1789, adopted on September 24th, 1789, in the first session of the First United States Congress, established the Federal Judiciary of the United States. And whereas the Western District of Pennsylvania was established by the Act of April 20th, 1818, which divided the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania into two judicial districts, with the Western District consisting of the counties of Fayette, Greene, Washington, Allegheny, Westmoreland, Somerset, Bedford, Huntington, Center, Mifflin, Clearfield, McKean, Potter, Jefferson, Cambria, Indiana, Armstrong, Butler, Beaver, Mercer, Crawford, Venango, Erie, and Warren. And whereas the United States District Court of Western Pennsylvania in 1866, after having previously held sessions only in Pittsburgh, began holding sessions in Erie, Pennsylvania. And whereas in 1978, Congress approved the creation of the United States Bankruptcy Court as a unit of the District Court, including the establishment of the United States Bankruptcy Court for the Western District of Pennsylvania. And whereas the Court in 1989, and acting upon a longstanding congressional authorization, announced that it would hold sessions in Johnstown, Pennsylvania. And whereas 57 men and women have served the court as a United States District Judge, 14 have served as United States Magistrate Judge, and 12 have served as a United States Bankruptcy Judge. And whereas the United States District Court for the Western District of Pennsylvania currently exercises jurisdiction over 25 counties, with 3 divisional offices in Erie, Johnstown, and Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, has 10 authorized district judgeships and is served by 4 district judges, 5 senior district judges, 6 magistrate judges, and 4 bankruptcy judges. And whereas the mission of the United States District Court for the Western District of Pennsylvania is to preserve and enhance the rule of law while providing an impartial and accessible forum for the just, timely, and economical resolution of legal proceedings within the court's jurisdiction, so as to protect individual rights and liberties, promote public trust and confidence in the judicial system, and to maintain judicial independence. And whereas the judges of the District Court are called on to hear and decide cases covering a wide range of issues. Such disputes include cases involving the civil and criminal laws of the United States, cases that deal with the constitutionality of those laws, civil rights cases, cases that involve disputes which occur on our waterways, and cases that involve disputes between parties who reside in different states. And whereas the United States District Court for Western District of Pennsylvania is recognized throughout the nation for its standards of excellence, fairness, and professionalism, and whereas in 2018 we celebrate the 200th anniversary of the United States District Court for the Western District of Pennsylvania, and offering our sincere gratitude to those thousands who have served and who currently serve as public servants, striving to uphold the Constitution, balancing the scales of justice for all. Adopted today. Any questions or comments? All right, the next...
well, the only thing I wanted to say is, Ken, I hope you were listening, because there's going to be a test afterwards. So I would just pay attention. A few dates in there.
That was sent to us, by the way, by the I believe it was by the U.S. District Court, correct? The next proclamation on the agenda is for National Skilled Nursing Care Week.
National Skilled Nursing Care Week. Whereas established by the American Healthcare Association in 1967 and always beginning on Mother's Day, National Skilled Nursing Care Week, formerly known as National Nursing Home Week, provides an opportunity to recognize the role of skilled nursing care centers in caring for America's seniors and individuals with disabilities. Nurses are a key component of the healthcare system and have an important role to play in people's lives by nature of their keen judgment, compassion, and clinical experience. Nurses are trusted health professionals and committed to preserving and protecting our public healthcare systems. Nurses advocate on behalf of their patients for an environment that promotes safe patient care, dignity, and respect. And nurses also have the right to work in an environment that promotes safety, respect, and dignity for the nurse. Now, therefore, be it resolved that we, the Commissioners of Warren County, hereby proclaim the week of May 13th through 19th, 2018 as National Skilled Nursing Care Week in Warren County. Be it further resolved to urge all citizens to join in celebration and recognition of nurses and their unique ability to have a positive impact on the lives of those they care for. And I would just add that this is, I think, a very good proclamation and a good thing to recognize. I know that visiting my grandmother in the Rouse for years before she passed, I was always impressed with the work that they did there, and as a result, my grandmother had a wonderful experience towards the end of her life, and always took wonderful care of her. And so I think that the more we can do to recognize the work that they do, the better.
Very good. Thank you. At this time, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of April 25th, the fiscal report as presented, and the two proclamations as read.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? Public comment? All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. No old business on the agenda. In terms of new business, we have an agreement with Aladtec, an AVANCO contract, the resolution supporting background checks for firefighters, local match for the TAWC, the ECCA payroll, the fire chaplain, and its appointment. So we'll start with Aladtec. This is a time and attendance subscription agreement. The software also has additional features in addition to time and attendance, such as training and so forth. We evaluated several platforms before we got to this one as the most affordable one. It does integrate, we asked the question at the last work session, it does integrate with the payroll systems that we currently use and could use in the future because it's a simple CSV export. I think that this is going to save a lot of time and headaches when it comes to scheduling and allow people to have access to their schedule. So, did you have anything you wanted to add?
You hit all the key points.
And this is going to be used explicitly with 911?
For now, yes. But I would think of it as kind of a pilot program, and if it works well at the 911 center, then I would like to see rolling it out at the jail, probation, sheriff, and other offices that have shifts that can be changed and that sort of thing.
How do you guys currently track time? Is it all through Excel spreadsheets?
It's Excel spreadsheets. It's very easy to
Manual,
make a
very
mistake.
manual.
That's not good.
Very good. Any other questions? All right, then I'll make a motion to adopt the Aladtec subscription agreement before us.
I'll second.
Discussion? Public comment? All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Next on the agenda is a CWIS amendment. Do you want to explain what that is, Meredith?
It's contract for an agreement for an upgrade to our current data system for children. We use what's called CAST, the Child County Profile System. We need to update our computer system to match the state system, which they refer to as CWIS, which is the Child Welfare Information System. They're moving to their second phase of a 4-phase program so that the entire state children in youth and juvenile probation data will be collected by this computer program. Our data system is run by AVANCO International, and they need to have a contract upgrade for us to be able to start putting changes into our system to match the system changes that will be happening in the state's data system. Our piece of it, because there are 56 counties that participate in CAS, is a little over $3,000. And our information technology grant through the state already has the funding to pay for the upgrade. We knew it was coming, we had budgeted for it, but they gave us another contract. Every single time we do an upgrade, they give us a contract, and we need to have it approved.
Ken, did you get all that? Because that's going to be on the test too.
Yes, sir.
Just want you to know.
You want to make a motion to approve it?
I'll make a motion to approve the Children, Youth, Family Services Child Accounting and Profile System upgrade, which is essentially required by the state.
Second. Further discussion? Public comment. All those in favor, please state aye. Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Resolution 3108, a resolution in supporting amendments to Title 35 for firefighters in the Commonwealth. This is largely at the request of Mr. Scully. Whereas sexual assault is an act in which a person sexually touches another person without that person's consent, or coerces or physically forces a person to engage in a sexual act against their will. It is a form of sexual violence which includes rape, groping, child sexual abuse, or the torture of a person in a sexual manner. And whereas in adulthood 91% of the victims of rape and sexual assault are female and 9% are male, and whereas before the age of 18, 1 in 4 girls and 1 in 6 boys have been sexually assaulted, and whereas fire departments throughout Warren County and the nation have young persons coming through the department starting at age 14 and provide times of vulnerability due to the nature of firefighting and training, and whereas emergency medical practitioners are already mandated by law to have Act 34 child abuse clearances, and whereas State Representative Kathy Rapp has introduced legislation to amend Section 7713 of Title 35 of the Pennsylvania Consolidated Statutes to provide service among convicted prohibit service among convicted
those two.
sexual offenders. Now therefore be it resolved that the Warren County Commissioners support House Bill 2220 of 2018 to disallow service from persons convicted of Tier 1, 2, or 3 sexual offenses under Title 42 of the Pennsylvania Consolidated Statutes, Section 9799.14, or any similar offense under federal or state law. Do I hear a motion to approve this?
So moved.
Second. Discussion?
Thank you.
I'd just like to take a moment to thank State Representative Kathy Rapp for her initiative in kind of addressing this issue, which is, is unique and kind of it's kind of fascinating to me that it's made it this far without being addressed. So it's an obvious change that needs to be made. So I would like to thank her for that effort. Then I'd also like to thank Commissioner Kafferlin for writing this resolution and taking the initiative to review the law and make a determination on his part as to the need for this resolution in support of the law change, which alleviated me needing to do anything.
Well, and I want to turn it over to Pam and thank Pam for writing most of it. So
very good.
Team effort.
There you go.
Go team. All right. We've already made a motion and seconded, correct? Public comment?
So it's only for Tier 1, 2, or 3. It's not for people who are actually indicated. They won't really be having clearances.
I believe that the law prohibits those with Title 1, 2, or 3, but it is requiring clearances as well. So.
If they show up as indicated offenders, is that prohibited as well, or it just shows up as a suspicion for the fire department?
I don't know whether the law explicitly prohibits it, except that it will mandate the clearance be
Identified,
yeah.
like the person be identified.
And that's 9/10 of it. I mean, I can tell you as the president of my fire department, we sometimes do the background checks, but I can tell you that there have been times where we've just said, he's a good guy. So just being aware, being forced to go through the motions of making sure is going to probably prevent any issues.
Yeah. Which is what happened it was Spartansburg, wasn't it?
Right.
They all just assumed, and you know what they say about that.
Any other discussion? All those in favor of Resolution 3108, please state aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Next, ECCA payroll. So we have been having
You're not
numerous...
going to do the local match?
Oh, I'm sorry, I skipped it. Local match. Jeff, would you tell us about that?
Yeah, so this is the authorization of the local county match for the transit authority's operating expenses. This fund, or the money that we provide, will be utilized as matching funds to draw down money from PennDOT in order to fund the transit authority. Our contribution this year is $34,700. And this is, each year there's a minor increase in it. I think that, I even want to say that it would probably be less than $1,000 increase, but I can't remember specifically off the top of my head. It's important to note that some of the municipalities within the county contribute to the local match. It would be my wish that the municipalities contribute a little bit more to the local match. The service that's provided to them, especially ones that are on the fixed route locations, is pretty great as far as the ability for people to be transported for jobs, work opportunities, and also for services, whether it be family services or health-related services. And so that's my pitch.
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution for the operating financial assistance match in the amount of $34,700.
I'll second.
Further discussion? Public comment? Remind me, this is the fixed route?
Well, I think this focuses on the fixed route, but as far as like how the match is drawn down, but it also, and I think it also ends up providing money for the shared route as well.
Okay.
But the funding streams for the shared route are mixed with other services because they do a lot of different things.
All right. Mr. Scully?
You know they ask townships for their donation to the transit authority. And it's up to the supervisors to how much they give.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's not a figure given to them to accept. It's a figure they give to the transit authority to accept.
It's one of the things that we've discussed on the Transit Authority Board is the need for the organization to do more outreach as far as fundraising, justifying the service, because I think that if it's properly explained to the municipalities, like what they get literally out of the money that they put in, it's much easier for them to justify making a greater allocation for it. Because I guess my point is like the municipalities, their contributions have just declined over the past 10 years. They haven't been increased than the cost of.
In all my years as supervisor, I have yet to see a transit authority person at our township meetings.
Yeah.
And we have, best of my knowledge, 2 stops in Lake Township.
That's a very good point. That's a very good point, and that goes along with the engaging the municipalities on a greater level. I think that they need to be made aware of what the service is. So.
I thank you for bringing that up. I mean, as someone from Spring Creek Township, where there are no TAWC stops, I'm somewhat desirous of seeing the municipalities around the city and to Sheffield and such, that they would contribute more, since the bill is being footed by the county, but really it's disproportionately coming to the city and the areas around the city. So those of us from Southwest, Eldred, Limestone, Deerfield, Spring Creek, etc., are not really seeing the benefits of this. And I think it's right. You're right that it really goes back to messaging. I think if TAWC was able to make the case to the local municipalities that they're getting the benefit of it, then perhaps the county's contribution level could be decreased somewhat.
I agree.
Thanks. Anything else? All right, all those in favor of the local match, please state aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next on the agenda is the ECCA payroll. Why don't I just turn it over to the fiscal director, I guess, to explain what this is.
I wouldn't normally bring it up so quickly. I'd give you a couple weeks, but just some of the timing of what we're trying to do here is why I asked to get added to the agenda. When I first got here, I identified a lot of different payroll process weaknesses that we had that was requires a lot of significant manual entry and information tracking. There's also, because of you doing it all manually, there's also a lot that can be errors. And suffice to say, I went out to get bids to see how, if we outsourced it in terms of technology, tracking, and automatic functions, what it would look like. Got quotes, and the best quote came back. In fact, they were very flexible and willing to work with us. Came back from ECC Payroll based in Erie. They currently handle other municipalities and private industry. They've been around a long time. For instance, they do Erie County. They do some local companies here, including United Refining, Superior Tire, and Worley. So they are well versed with both government and non-government and our area. The cost is approximately all in for both human services, because right now we're running two different payrolls. For both 250 all-in employees, it's about $13,000 a year. That cost is negligible. In fact, we actually might be net positive when you calculate the energy and time we put into it manually now and the opportunity cost.
So you're saying your calculation for imposing the system on both entities is $13,000 a year?
Correct.
Okay.
And that includes onboarding, a lot of electronic onboarding, tracking, automatic increases for union relation stuff, quarterly and annual tax filings. They're responsible for all those. They also, if there was an error, they are liable for those and take care of that.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Pam, what's the thing that you get roped into every year?
The 1094s.
Is that it?
That's part of this, all the tax
Well, we
filings.
turn that back over to BAI and let them deal with it.
Yeah.
Okay. Is BII going to work with them then to produce that then?
Yeah, it doesn't really matter. If they're doing it as part of their deal, that's fine. If we want to do it as part of payroll, that's fine too. They can do that. It's included.
Okay, good. Because that's horribly labor intensive, and we really shouldn't be doing that.
The W-2s, you name it relative to payroll or onboarding, that covers it in that cost.
So is this their proposal?
That is one of the agreements. There's two that look identical, except
What is
numbers.
What is the exit clause on this?
It's a service. It's not even a contract.
So we just agreed to their fee schedule, and then
we're just agreeing to the fixed pricing.
Okay.
And if we want to get rid of it a month later, we could. But God, I hope not.
Yeah.
But I would highly recommend we do this. Transition time, we're going to be communicating with, we want to get this done at the end of the fiscal quarter for the county and end of the fiscal year for the human services, so July 1 we can start. So I'd like to have that all at this time. They're ready to go, and it's going to be a team effort to get it all done. That's why I just finished negotiating with them yesterday on the pricing. I was able to push it down even farther because they're really looking forward to working with us, and that's why I want to get it on the agenda today so we can get this done.
Right. Okay. So this is, to me, I think it's probably one of the best things that we could do, because we're seeing so many errors within payroll, and it gets more complex as rules and such and contracts change and that sort of thing. I think this is going to save us first of all, just in the time and effort, but also through not getting mistakes.
Yeah. And also, the Aladtec we did check too, and that it's workable to work with that as well, so.
Okay, good.
To import the data from
Yeah,
that
to import
into
it from there to the system.
Yeah, I mean, my perspective on this is we've talked about this for 2 years now, and I, at several different occasions, had more arguments than I should have about trying to implement something like this, because our process has generally been incredibly manual as far as spreadsheets. The data that comes out of AccuFund is not good in my estimation, and then also the way it's set up, like the drop-down menus and everything, are so confusing. The interface is so bad that it almost produces errors. And every time we have an error in a payroll that's labor time, I would say that we easily probably have that in dealing with payroll issues, because we've stuck with this manual process that's almost generates errors. So if you're comfortable with this, and it's your recommendation that this is the best option, then I'm willing to move forward on it, even though I usually like to be stingy about going through the contract. So.
I'm confident this is the right play.
Very good.
For the county.
You did evaluate multiple contracts, right?
I did.
I noticed, I wasn't in any of them, but I saw vendors in here like every day for a week.
We had multiple vendors, multiple meetings, in person, on the phone, or web presentations.
All right.
Very good.
Well, I'll move to agree to accept the ECCA service agreement.
I will second that.
Discussion?
Thank you.
I just thank you for doing the due diligence on this and trying to initiate this. I think this is, if you feel like this is the best option, then I feel like this is a good decision and a good move to make.
And I will add that it wasn't just me. I did HR and both payroll administrators were involved in all these presentations as well.
Very good.
To make sure that all the issues or questions or concerns they might have had were talked about.
And we can pull CSV reports for uploading to the actuary for retirement?
You can do anything you want, pretty much, with this company. They're very, and if they don't have a standard report, they can customize it any way they want. Their main guy was here to talk to us about that functionality. So,
Okay.
yes.
All right. Good. Any public discussion on this? All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Next is Resolution 3109, Commission of the Warren County Office of Emergency Services Chaplain. Whereas the nature of emergency services, including emergency medical services, fire rescue, emergency management, and law enforcement, is a dangerous profession and exposes first responders to traumatizing incidents. And whereas chaplains have historically provided prayer, grief counseling, and related services to responders, victims, and their families. And whereas emergency services hold important or commemorative events where christenings, invocations, and benedictions are appropriate in addition to other services, such as funerals and memorials. And whereas Warren County deems it appropriate and desirable to have a designated chaplaincy to serve victims, emergency responders, and their families, as well as county functions, now therefore be it resolved that the Warren County Commissioners do hereby commission the voluntary Office of Fire Chaplain of Warren County within the Department of Public Safety to provide free, confidential, and accessible emotional and spiritual care, including counseling services and other spiritual care at events and after incidents. And furthermore, in vacancy of said position, the Warren County Commissioners may appoint and swear in a Chief Emergency Services Chaplain and as many deputies as they deem necessary using the following oath. I do solemnly promise to faithfully and diligently perform the duties of Emergency Services Chaplain of Warren County and will provide comfort and spiritual support to personnel of emergency service departments and to the citizens of the community as called upon. I shall strive to set an exemplary standard of ethical and moral conduct and will provide comfort and spiritual support to all persons without bias, so help me God. Furthermore, in the performance of such duties, said chaplains may be covered for workers' compensation and liability coverage by the county. This is a resolution that I drafted largely at the request of the Department of Public Safety. because there are incidents and events that a chaplain would be helpful. I know that we're under a bit of a time constraint, so I won't go into too much depth, but I think that this is a very noble office to create. It won't cost the county anything. I did include the workers' compensation as a may, so it's not necessary. I think it's up to the discretion of the board the way this is written, but I do think that it could be appropriate. And then liability coverage, we already have that. That would already stand under the Department of Public Safety. So it won't cost the county anything. I have 2 people that are interested in serving as chaplain for emergency services of Warren County. One is from the western side of the county and one is from the eastern side. I would like to recommend today Daniel Stanley, who I've already had the chance to interview, and the Department of Public Safety is behind appointing him as chaplain. I also have another pastor that reached out after the article on Monday, and I have not had a chance to meet with him, so I'm not going to ask to appoint him at this time. But I would ask for a motion to approve Resolution 3109, as well as appoint Daniel Stanley as the first Warren County Emergency Services Chaplain.
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 3109, and then also to go along with that resolution, appoint Daniel Stanley as the first Emergency Services Chaplain of Warren County.
Thank you. I'll second that. Discussion?
I would just say that I would like to thank Commissioner Kafferlin for his effort in putting this together. I think we have conversations often about how the county can collaborate with the fire services members in the county. They need a huge amount of support right now, and this is a perfect example of something that the county, I think, can very easily do as a matter of coordination and leadership. And it's a testament to Commissioner Kafferlin's commitment to fire services and all the people in emergency management.
Thank you. For my part, I did want to make it clear that by this appointment, we're certainly not taking away from any fire chaplains or police chaplains that are currently in place. I think it's wonderful if departments still have chaplains, but there are some departments that don't, and the Department of Public Safety does not, and we do incidents that could probably use grief counseling, and we do have commemorative events and that sort of thing. This is not meant to supersede anyone's current chaplain. It's simply to be offered as a resource. The other thing is there is a training for emergency services chaplains that's coming up next week, and that was the urgency, and the reason that I wanted to push this through so quickly was so that we could have somebody that was trained by the state fire commissioner's office to do this job. Any public comment? All right. The motion before us is to approve Resolution 3109 and appoint Daniel Stanley as the first emergency services chaplain. All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. That concludes everything on our regular agenda. The personnel transaction report. Since our last meeting, new hires include Mark Saporito, effective May 14th, working in juvenile probation as a probation officer at a rate of $15 an hour, as well as a new hire in Chelsea Deppus, effective May 7th, working as a drug and alcohol case manager at Human Services at a rate of $15.57 an hour. Ben Kraft has requested to move from full-time corrections officer down to part-time corrections officer effective May 4th at a rate of $20.58 an hour. And Missy Fitzgerald is moving from case worker to case manager from at Human Services effective May 4th at a rate of $19.48 an hour. Since our last meeting, we've had one resignation and one retirement. Resignation was Gregory Schwab, effective the 11th of May, from customer service representative at the Domestic Relations Office. And then Joletta Manelik has retired, effective May 3rd, as she was the Register of Wills in the Register and Recorder's Office. Any questions about the personnel transaction report? I ask for a motion to ratify the personnel transaction report.
So moved.
I'll second. Note that the date is wrong on this copy that I have.
Okay.
Public comment? All those in favor, please state aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Any commissioner comments? Any public comment again? Then I ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
Aye.
Aye. We're adjourned at 1:05.